American society in the 19th century. The effects of immigration. There were some big effects of immigration on American society, and a lot of people were immigrating here because of all the promise of jobs that followed the Industrial Revolution. They were building all sorts of things in the United States. They were building railroads, they were building automobiles, they were doing all sorts of different things. And people wanted to basically get jobs in these different industries. In particular, the railroad industry was a big one initially. So people like the Irish and the Chinese were immigrating to get the railroad jobs. And there became a lot of competition for those jobs. And that led to something we call nativism. The idea that a group of people who'd moved to the United States or to any place else, but in this case, the United States, believe that they are now natives, and the next group of immigrants are basically somehow encroaching on their land and their livelihood. So this idea of nativism basically led to a lot of sort of ethnic and racial animosity during this period. The Irish disliked the Germans disliked the Chinese, and so forth. All these different groups sort of disliked each other. If you've seen the movie The Gangs of New York, it focuses on nativism in New York City and these sort of warring back and forth between these different ethnic groups. So that was very common at this time. As we moved into the early 20th century, meaning the 1900s, nativism really got to be focused on people who were immigrating from Asian countries because they were very successful in working on the railroads and things like that. And so a lot of other ethnic groups were starting to sort of have animosity towards Asian immigrants. And that led to a lot of nativist policies that really targeted Asian immigrants in the early 20th century. One famous one was the Chinese Exclusion Act that basically excluded people from China from being able to immigrate to the United States. Another one was the Gentleman's Agreement, which was a sort of handshake agreement between the United States and Japan, where the United States basically said to Japan, we're not going to pass a formal exclusion against your people like the Chinese Exclusion Act, but in return we're asking that you basically restrict your own people from being able to move to the United States. And that was the agreement that was reached. So it became very hard in the early 20th century for a lot of people from Asian countries to immigrate to the United States because of these nativist political policies. Foreign policy during this time, an important thing to know about for the test is the Monroe Doctrine. Introduced around 1823, it really asserted U.S. power by forbidding further European colonization or interference in the Americas. Basically, America sort of took control of the Western Hemisphere in a way and said to Europe, there will be no more colonization in North or South America, and you will not interfere in the governments or political systems or economies of any of these countries in North or South America. So it really sort of stated dominion over North and South America, a really strong political statement at the time. And a lot of the countries were starting to win their independence at this time and emerge as sort of new economies and new political systems. And the United States was basically saying, this region is sort of under our control. Europe does not get to sort of have a hand in this anymore. So that's the Monroe Doctrine.